All right, so part two, part two, part two. I am Elias Williams, your host of Evolution of Grace. I am back in the studio with the Fox. We were talking through all of life that's been going on with you
Yes.
here with the accident and everything, and with everything that transpired from it. How much God blessed in the process, but the temptation to see it by the world's view was still knocking at your door, and the decision to just stay choosing the kingdom way and to look at it from the kingdom perspective, which uncovers a whole lot all the time. One main thing being the importance of just staying with brothers, with sisters that are like-minded in the word, that can remind you of who you are in the word and what the word has to say about you, regardless of your situation. It's from you to me, from me to you. Like it's a constant thing of making sure that we're reminded of what the word has to say about us and allowing our minds to be renewed by the word, letting that word be the final authority no matter what we come up against. So we left off where you, sir, were a recipient of about $21,000 at this point, right?
Yep.
And this is after considering the world's way of doing things, trying to be analytical. God is showering you with blessings
Oh, yeah.
out of this. And so now we're at the $21,000 mark to finish this up. So please, sir, continue.
So I will tell you, up to 21K. Now, an event happened that should make all of that money go straight to that event.
More details to come.
More details to come. And so, due to that event, I was like, oh, man, yeah, I'm going to have to still find the cheapest bucket of bolts I can find.
Still saying you're going to have the cheap.
I got to
Lord.
figure that situation out. And so I'm still contemplating this, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just look at this. And my mom calls me, and she's like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? And I was like, well, my car situation is blah, 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 but I got X amount of money for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go take this money and put it towards the, whatever the heck lowest, cheapest thing I can find, because this event has happened, and and I need to put all the money that I possibly can towards this event. And she goes, well, hold on, let me call you back. I'm going to call you back in a few minutes. She calls me back. She goes, you know what? I want to sow into you. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell a few of my belongings that I don't happen to need or use or want, and I'm going to give you a chunk of cash to go towards it.
Okay.
And I'm sitting here like, wow. Now, a little backstory to this. Prior to my vehicle getting messed up, my sister's vehicle had taken a dive.
That is correct.
But hers, thankfully, was still under warranty, so they were able to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And then shortly after, I think like 24 hours after my issue, no, I backtrack. Then my mom's car ended up having some issues.
Right.
She took it in. It was not under warranty, to the tune of $3,000 worth of damage. So she got her pocketbook out for that one. Then 24 hours after my accident, my father's vehicle started going to the dump here. And at this point, I'm like, it is not good to have a car in my family.
We rebuke that, though. We rebuke that.
I know.
It's all good.
Right. So when my mom came to me and she said, I want to sow into it, I was like, but you've got your own car and, the sister's car and dad's car. Like,
right.
Why would you do that? And she goes, well, you told me about the event that happened and how it was weighing on your mind. And I want to invest in it. And I
You
said,
know,
okay.
everybody's gonna be emailing us about what the event is,
Oh,
right?
of course. That'll
Like
be
we are
part
so
3.
gonna have to do an episode about that. But go ahead.
So she goes, now I know what you're thinking. And she was right. I was going to take the whatever amount and I was going to put it towards the lowest level and then, put some into my bank account and do all that. And she goes, now I want you to go and look at the car that you would really, really like to have in that moment.
So she's asking you to go look at what you actually want. Like you need a car. That's it. You just need a car.
Just need a car.
But she's asking you to go and find what you want. What you prefer. Okay, go ahead, sir. Yes, sir.
And at this point, I'm sitting here like, all right, God. Yeah, you're obviously you're doing your thing here, so I'm not gonna be stupid here and go back and look at this other thing. I'm gonna go look at the thing that I feel is completely unobtainable in the worldly system here.
There we go.
And so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. There will be more to see what happens with that, and obviously I will divulge some more information about the event.
So okay, so we're $21,000 richer. Your mom wants to add even more money into the pot. You've privy me to the amount, which is substantial.
Yes.
And she is still asking what kind of car you want. Now, you are, well capable of just going and getting just a vehicle and going on with that. But
I was thinking about getting a skateboard for a little while.
Now, okay, wait, we're not going to go there. We need people to receive this word, man. They see us going down the street on a skateboard, they're going to be like, now these brothers.
It'd be some real, you tie that to the dog, you can get some serious
He like, I'm moving, okay? I could at least hit this gas station for no gas, just a snack. Whatever.
Man, get that big burrito.
But you are now looking, it's changed from need to preference. And this is while considering doing it the world's way, but because your heart is invested in kingdom, these things are still transpiring. And that's one of the big things that we try to put out at all times. Nobody does this flawlessly. Like none of us are doing this flawlessly where it is a constant, we are pressing toward the mark of kingdom being our instinct. We want that to be the auto response that comes from all of us. And so I just think it's amazing because this sounds like the setup for the exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or think. According, like that's what that sounds like to me. And that's so in God's nature because it continues to prove that God has done just as he said he would do as far as taking care of us. Like your
You know what? I'll go ahead and break in here and I'll give you a snippet here. This was gonna be part 3, but I'll tell you some information here because I think it'll be interesting it'll shed some light onto it. So essentially the event that happened, my beautiful, wonderful wife came to me probably 2 days after I went to look at the car, and I'm like, man, I can't get this. I can't get a car. This is going to be brutal. I woke up, I'm sitting in bed, and I'm like, man, I don't want to go to work today. Work is just not fun. I don't like my job. I should just quit that thing. It is just annoying. And she's like, well, don't be down about yourself and all that. And I looked over at her and I was like, well, what are you so chipper about that for? And she goes, well, I'm pregnant. And I said,
oh boy,
what? Okay. I said, okay. And This now I am newly married, freshly married, 4 months into my marriage.
Yes, you are.
So I'm new to being a husband, and now I'm going to be new to being a daddy.
Yes, you are.
First kid, and so instantly after I was contemplating cars and all that, it went to, well, I got to start paying for braces. The kid hasn't even gotten here yet. And,
All of the consideration.
everything. I'm just
that
doing
comes
math, lots
with-
of math that I'm not good at anyway.
Yeah, that analytical side is kicking in. That temptation to
worldly
look from the
system.
world's view and say, "Oh my God, I don't have this, I don't have that." Like to start accounting for what seems like it's lacking, because that's part of the foundation of what we've been talking about this from. But I myself have a 2-year-old, and the Fox has been around for quite sometimes. He was there at her birth, so he's been present her entire life to see, just her growth and development. And he's seen, some of those times where it's like, man, it takes some sacrifice. Well worth it. I have a beautiful, beautiful baby girl. Well worth everything that comes along with just being a parent. But you do have to do the job of being a parent, and being that parent means that you're going to shell out some greenbacks. You are going to shell out some money. Now, here's the thing. I'm so glad that, and if you guys didn't get a chance to listen into that session, we did a session a while back called The Money Issue. And we talked about, what your relationship with money is like. And I was so glad, in the time that I've been able to see her grow, that God brought that lesson to me. Because some of the times, and I'm just gonna say it plain, looking at your bank account can drive you crazy.
Oh man.
Like, you start looking at things, and because you have an awareness of everything that you have to pay for, when your money looking funny, you like, I don't see it. But that's the thing. One of the things that we addressed in that episode is the only thing that can change the fact of a matter is the truth of the word. That's when your bank account may say you've got $500 in it, but you've got, $1,500 worth of bills to pay. It is a reality. Like it is a fact that you have $500 in your account. But the truth of the word says God has already supplied all of your needs. Mm-hmm. So which one of those are you going to choose to invest your words in, your thoughts in? Because oftentimes, and we just finished talking about that, like a part of the temptation that comes along with getting new information, like you got a child on the way, I got to buy a vehicle and things like that. The temptation that's going to bring is, how am I going to pay for it all? But my first thing is, God knew me before the foundations of the earth. That's what it said. He knew me before I was even formed in my mother's womb. He also gave me everything that I would need that pertains to life and godliness. Then if I really needed to look at it from a material perspective, he already said the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. The gold is mine. The silver is mine. There are countless occasions in the Bible where people gained financial wealth just being around the presence of God. But then it was shown of them that the wealth that they gained was not the source of their solution. It was being with him that was the source of the solution. And so it with the Fox seeing all that it's taken to facilitate that life, most people will tell you, well, it's intelligent for you to think about, what it's going to cost. That statement about, well, anybody would be worried about that. Yeah, but we're not just anybody, and we are definitely not alone. See, that mindset sets in a lot of times when you see yourself from a singular standpoint. Yeah. Where does God get his credit in what he's done for us? Like, oftentimes, and there was a statement that was made a long time ago great man of God, Pastor Gregory Dickow. Pastor Gregory Dickow, God bless you, if you're out there listening. But he made the statement that um, no matter what your scenario or situation is, you and God are always the majority. Always.
Yeah.
You're never to see yourself alone, because if Christ is fullness, if he's all the finished work, what worries are you having about what's about to happen? Like one of the things that I told you when we found out, the blessed news that your wife was carrying your first child, it was like
blessed, the very blessed. Be
yes,
very happy.
it is a blessing. That is a happy thing.
You know what out of you, but it is definitely a blessing.
But that's the thing. Like, God has already told you that children are a blessing from him. Children are a gift. Like,
well, you told me something that really resonated with me, especially in this situation. I sit here and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. I don't think I don't even know if I'm going to be a good dad. But you have always said this to me, and this what resonates with me all the time, and that is, God is a good husband for me. God is a good father for me.
Yes, sir.
God is good at this job that I am not good at.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He is affording me all of these things. So what am I worried about?
Anything good. Like I oftentimes tell my wife that even when she issues a compliment to me about anything, I'm always grateful to God, because that is the thing that continues to show me that he is real, because I know me. She knows me. Ain't too much good that come along with me just as being the person that I am, just as Elias. Ain't no good that's coming along with that. But every time she cites some goodness that has come from me, then that lets me know that God is working on my behalf and allowing that image to be portrayed to the world for his benefit. Like, I couldn't hope to be a good husband. I mean, I would think logically, in order to be a good husband, you might need to just be a good man. And I can't remember all of the times that I was the best person. And I know a lot of people hearing that will probably be like, well, at some point you had to have done something good. You couldn't have been all bad. But what I mean by that is, when you come into the knowledge of what the Holy Spirit affords you and who you are without him, you don't see any good on yourself. It doesn't matter if you are a decent person or if you're nice to people. You just don't see it any other way without the Holy Ghost. And so I knew, or I at least figured, in order to be a good husband, you might want to be a good man, and you are good at just being the best guy around. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so it points out to you so quickly, it's a reminder for me every day to turn over my efforts of being a good husband to Christ, knowing that he will be able to fulfill that for me. It causes me to turn over my efforts to be a good father to my daughter to Christ, knowing that he'll be like, he is all of these things for me. Fatherhood is a finished work. A successful marriage is a finished work. It's all in who's at the pilot seat that's going to count, because and that might veer just a little bit, but because of you being newly married, like we talked about that at one point, there's no such thing as leading without being led.
Sure.
A real man, a true believer, one that knows who God is, knows that you lead from a place of submission. We stay on our knees before the only person that's capable of leading, which is our Father and his Son Christ. Like the word tells you, woman follow after man as man follows after God. She is only, her duty is to follow after you so long as you're following after God. But if you have no leadership in your forefront, what mandate is set? What is it? What reason does she have to follow you in anything when she knows that you're not being led? And so that permeates every area of your life when you begin to know who the Holy Spirit is. You know that you need him at all times to be who you are, and what you need to do, no matter how small or great You need him for that, especially when we talk about situations like this. You got the world advertising to you about what you don't have. You know, you just got in a car accident right now. You know, you're trying to get everything straight with a new vehicle. And then the grand icing on the cake is to say, oh, I'm pregnant too.
Because see, this is what's going through my head. I lost my car, okay? I don't have the money to pay for the car, or any car for that matter. And then I'm like, oh, we got a baby, so I got to get the formula and the bassinet and the car seats. And, well, I don't have a car, so I don't need the car seat. And then, you know, where's the baby going to sleep? Not to divulge too much information, but I am in a 2-bedroom apartment. And, you know, I was hoping to not have a child grow up in an apartment. I would like to have a house. And so, you know, with the way the housing market is and cars are in short supply, I'm just sitting here like, I don't know how I'm going to do it.
And see, that's the exact point. But the kingdom view says there's a gift coming that is a child.
Yeah.
One. You are in a place of your own in one of the nicest areas of Atlanta. See, the Fox has a way of selling the point like he's just like out there and doesn't have anything. And that's not the case. Like, you're living in one of the best cities in a high-rise apartment.
That is true.
The other thing about that too, and I don't know, and I'm so finna rat you out about that.
Thank
I don't
you.
know if they
Thank
picked
you very
up
much.
on that in the last episode, but correct me if I'm wrong, sir. Let me ask you.
Oh, here we go.
You're debt-free, aren't you? You don't have any
Oh, yeah.
debt to your name, do
Yeah,
you?
I cleared that out.
Now, for everybody that's listening, we're going to pause right here, okay? We're going to pause right here. The fact that you're debt-free alone, and people hear that, I hope that we didn't just lose half our audience like, oh, I give up on these
Yeah, I
guys
might
right
not
here.
have to be-
I'm not listening to these guys
Probably
anymore.
don't get invited back now.
No, you are debt free with a great credit score, everything. And he's like, I don't have any money. And I'm looking at him the whole time like, okay. But because of where you are, your car note to be a little to nothing. They're gonna pay for it, and there's no other debt to your name.
The point
But
is
I
to
don't
not
have.
get into debt.
Yeah, but sir, when it comes
Yeah.
to the needful thing, and you know what, I commend that all the way. Let me not skip past that, because that is the point. Is, you know, when God grants you the blessing of being debt free, you wish to maintain that, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that.
But I also should not be complaining about, you know, the predicament. But that is to appreciate the blessings, and that is to realize the blessings, and to not keep the horse blinders on in the world view.
Yes.
That is, you know, that is how to break away, is to realize that you are being blessed and not to instantly go to the next problem.
Yes.
And that is the problem that I have. It's like, okay, well, you walked out unscathed and your bill's going to be paid and you're worried about the car. Now I'm taking care of the car. Now this kid's come along, and so you're worried about the kid. Now all of a sudden you're thinking that you need a house, and it's like, hold on, let's just back up for a second and let's look at what I've done for you so far.
I thought the word said, take no thought for tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
I thought that's what. See, the thing about this is the first worry from the accident.
Mm-hmm.
Am I okay health wise? He made sure that was in place, not just for you, but for the guy that it happened with. Then it's, how am I going to pay for anything? He made sure the bills were paid. Then it was, well, how am I going to get a car? He's made a way for the car to pretty much be paid in full, you to drive off the lot. And we're still asking the question, well, how am I handling the kid? The same way I've handled everything else is how I'm going to handle everything else. Me as your father, I'm going to handle. I have already handled. All you're doing is receiving the provision that has already been made for your life. God didn't just create that. That's been here since you were born. You're just taking hold of the provision that's already there. Me and the Fox were laughing earlier today because I'm like, I absolutely could not be God. I just couldn't.
Oh
I would
no,
not be able to do it because I'm like,
we'd
how
all be
much
dead.
more do I have to do to prove that I have you taken care of? But the thing that I love about God is His grace made room for every ounce of our humanity. It made room for it because He knew that the temptation would always be there to say, you know, well, God, I just need to figure this out. Some of the times, and I know that this may be to some an unconventional piece of advice because it totally incinerates the world's view of things. But a lot of times, you don't need to know anything. You know why? Because God knows that if you know something, you're going to be tempted to try to bring it to pass for yourself. You're going to get tempted to try to be analytical and figure it out. It's like, when did we start taking what God has promised us as a challenge for us to bring it to pass? That's not how that works. If He promised it, it's because it's already done. We, however, take it upon ourselves to say, ooh, that sounds good. Now, how I'm going to make this happen? No. And so I've learned to appreciate the times in my life now for sure where I don't know something. And that's the other thing too. Not knowing does not mean that confusion is present. That's not what that means. Not knowing means you simply don't know. And a lot of times my greatest lessons have come from the Father in not knowing because it completely requires then that I lean on Him as He asks me to do. I have to trust God in a way that says, because I don't know what to do, like there's nothing for me to lose in trusting the only person that's ever done everything He said He was going to do for me. I like how He appropriated that for me because I tell people a lot of times, you know, the Holy Spirit often speaks to me in parables, and He said, think about an attorney, son. You don't know all of the laws. So there are certain predicaments that you get in where you do what? You hire an attorney. Why did you hire the attorney? Because they are aware of the laws and the way things work. They have a knowledge base that you don't have. Now, here's the thing. You pay them top dollar. And you trust their words because they study the law. You turn over massive amounts of money to say, okay, I have to rely on this person because they actually know the law. But the person, the God, the Father that supplies the breath to your lungs, you're not okay with not knowing when it concerns Him and just completely trusting Him. And when He showed it to me like that, I was like, man, that's a good point right there. And so in putting out scenarios like this, there are multiple things that come from that. One, we want you guys to see that even as we talk through this, the challenge still hits us. It still hits our doors. It's still knocking to see if we really believe what we believe, because one thing that I always say, and we say this about the brothers all the time, it's easy to do what's easy when it's easy. When it's easy, everybody can do it. But what matters is when it's hard to maintain your position and you refuse to move off of the word. And so this was one of those examples where something that we spoke about, you know, we had to refer back to that and see if we really believed it, because that's what the test of life come for. The word tells you that the test of life come to mature you. Let's see if you actually believe what you say you believe. You said you believe that God supplied all of your needs. But if X, Y, and Z happens to you, we're going to prove if you really believe that or not. And so scenarios like this, we think that they're helpful to speak on, because I am sure that everybody has had their version of your scenario here as of late. I've had that. Maybe I'll go next, because you know all that happened in the past week with me. My baby got sick, then my wife got sick, then I got what they had, and I still had business to conduct and everything. And even I think the last session that I did, I even apologized to everybody because I was gone for a week, but I didn't say exactly what was going on. So maybe we'll talk about that in another segment. But we appreciate you all for listening all the time. Mr. Fox, I am so glad that you rode with me on this one. We will be doing more sessions ahead, right?
Yeah,
So that we
absolutely.
can, yeah,
Absolutely.
so that we can continue to put this information out here. But until next time, God bless you all. Email us. We are checking the email on a daily basis, so email us with any thoughts that you guys have, and we will see you all the next time.